Hi, folks, and welcome to My Mayor, episode 11. For over 20 weeks now, we've been enjoying getting to know the candidates through the My Mayor series, and I hope you've gotten value out of it and had as much fun as I have. This will be the last episode before the primary, but we certainly look forward to having more conversations with the remaining candidates after the primary. I've been thinking about having a guest host for a while. I've got to do it quite a bit, and we thought it'd be fun to give somebody else a chance. And who better to do that than someone who's held the job themselves? And so we were able to get a little time on the books with former Mayor Rick Baker. And so he'll be guest hosting some of the episodes today. And I look forward to those conversations. I know that they'll be, as everything that Mayor Baker does, thoughtful and fun. And I hope you enjoy them. And we'll see you again after the primary.
Hi, I'm Rick Baker. I had the honor of being mayor of St. Petersburg from 2001 to 2010. And I'd like to welcome you to another edition of My Mayor. And today we have Robert Blackmon, candidate for mayor of St. Petersburg. It's Robert's, I should say, a good friend, and I've seen him in campaign action many times over the years. Great to have you here, Robert. How you doing?
Great to see you, Mayor. Happy to be here. Another wonderful St. Pete day. Hopefully talking about St. Pete, so always a pleasure.
As we used to say, another great day in St. Petersburg.
They're all great.
It is good. How's the campaign going so far? Tell me about the campaign trail.
The campaign is going great. Had a wonderful fundraiser last night. We're less than 2 weeks out from the day of the primary. So just trying to stay focused on what's important down the stretch where, the votes matter, the noise doesn't. And, you have an early voting contingent that's already heavily in. So we think that the race is going well, but we want to make sure we get all the votes down the stretch to make sure we don't leave anything on the field.
I used to describe to my wife that a campaign is kind of like walking through the looking glass, and all of a sudden you're in Wonderland, and it's a completely different world. So many things coming at you from different directions. It's a wonderful thing too. So, as you kind of approach the election coming up soon, what would you say are the three things that you would like people to take about Robert Blackmon? What are you trying to convey to people? This is who I am. This is why I want to be your mayor.
Well, so first of all, I want to say one other thing that, you got me thinking about campaigns and kind of centering yourself. Even just driving here today, it made me think about the fact of how lucky I am and how lucky, kind of everybody in the area is that we do have accessible leaders who are willing to talk to people who are interested in taking the same position. I'm happy to have you as a friend, happy to be talking with you today, but also, Bob Ulrich, Dick Greco, Bill Foster. It's nice to have people who are still willing to care and reach out and get involved despite, having the torch be passed. So very thankful for that. But three things that I would say, I'll start with one of why I want people to keep in mind moving forward for the election is which candidate has the best track record commensurate with their years in office. So, we have two different kind of tiers of candidates in this race. You have some that are complete outsiders with no political experience, and you have some as high as, 22 years ago, I believe they were originally elected to office. And I think that there's strengths and weaknesses, obviously, to both, but I'm kind of straddling the line between the two. I've been in elected office. This is my second year as a city council person. But I also have a strong business background from the private sector. And I want people to look at, how the records stack up against my competitors. I have had a number of successes in a very short period of time. Bringing the Science Center back and getting federal and state funding has been one big priority for me and big goal. But also leading the way on stuff such as environmentalism. I fought in the budget, and we gained a lakes management department, which we've never previously had in the city. Also, affordable housing. A lot of people talk about it. I've led the way to try and push bills all the way to the state level to get funding for that. So there have been a number of different issues where I've worked hard at, where I've actually fought to get tangible results. A fire station, a new fire station that's desperately needed in my district. I fought back against administration, despite their protest, to get funding for land acquisition and to rally council around a cause. So you have to look at, the kind of proportion of how many years there were versus how many results you've gotten. And also, are the other candidates, were they leaders or were they complicit and along for the ride of momentum that was already happening. So, a lot of times people say, well, I was a part of a different change that was made or a different cause on a council or a commission. But were they the leader or were they just there when it happened? And do they have enough hits, so to speak, for their time in office? And I think mine stacks up very favorably.
Robert, you're a young guy, and some people say that's good. Some people say, well, I'd rather have somebody more experienced. But you've had really remarkable success in the business world in the time that you've been in real estate. How do you think that plays into the ability to serve as mayor, to lead the city?
Well, when you talk about business experience, first of all, I've done well, but it's because of St. Pete, not because I'm some genius. And that's the thing, is our trajectory has been straight up since I've been in business. Just because of my age, I'm 32. I've only really been doing business, full time in St. Pete for a little over a decade. And then before that, when I was in college, and St. Pete's trajectory has been straight up. So it's been hard not to be successful because of the work of you and other leaders in the past. But I always compare city government and municipal government, especially in St. Pete, is very analogous to a private business. The mayor is the CEO, the city council is the board of directors, and all the citizens are the shareholders. And we need to look at things with more of a business mindset, because if you had annual reports like they do in the private sector, there would be a lot of disgruntled shareholders and they would demand a change. So that's kind of how I view, city government.
So your first item was kind of compare the amount of time in office to the accomplishments. Tell me another item that you'd like people to remember as they're considering whether or not to vote for you.
So one thing I touched on in the first point was the Science Center, right? And I said that I brought together people from different levels of government to start getting the ball rolling on that project. I think what people need to look at is who is best equipped of the candidates to work with county, state, and federal government to make change. And I think I'm that candidate. If you look at the Science Center project, I brought together a wide range of organizations and individuals that typically don't have anything to do with each other. The Sierra Club wrote a letter of support. Linda Cheney, a freshman Republican state legislator, I had bring about an appropriation request with Darrell Roussan, a Democratic state senator. Charlie Crist, a Democratic U.S. congressman, filed the federal appropriations. So who is best equipped to go out and cheerlead for St. Pete and put their ego aside to get results? All the time I see, unfortunately, different elected officials. I saw Mayor Kreisman getting into it with, Governor DeSantis the other day, and you have to build bridges with Tallahassee. You can't just throw stones and constantly try and fight with people because, at the end of the day, you're local government and they have a much bigger stick and a much bigger budget, and there can be repercussions. So I think I'm a bridge builder. I'm happy to have a bunch of support at the state level, and, look no further than last year during the pandemic. There was a lot of confusion regarding shutdowns and mandates. And, the mayor couldn't get answers from Tallahassee about rules and regulations because he had basically been frozen out. People in City Hall went to me to have me use my connections to get answers. Another great example, Central Cigars, the cigar bar downtown. They were shut down by our police, by the mayor's order, from serving alcohol. And the owner made the argument to me. He said, he called me. I didn't even know him. I'd never met him. He said, hey, I really think I should be able to serve alcohol here. I'm a predominantly retail store. I used my connections to get in touch with Tallahassee and get a statement written that said Central Cigars should be open as a business to sell alcohol during the pandemic. That kind of leadership and connections are invaluable, and we cannot cast that aside. We need to build bridges, not burn them.
So why did you choose the Science Center on the west side as something for you really? What's the importance of that for that community, for the whole city, or for the west side? Why did you choose the Science Center to jump into and help?
Well, first of all, it's in my district, District 1. But I went there as a child, and it all comes back to what we touched on in the first question of, my view of governance. It just was a good business deal. We bought the site for $3.2 million with plans to expand our wastewater treatment plant into the rear of the property. We have enough room to do that without tearing down the building. I was able to get $3.5 million from the state and federal government so far, not including private donations, which I have lined up for hundreds of thousands, to renovate the property. So essentially, I've gotten $4 million to renovate a property that we paid $3.2 million for the entire thing. And we're using the back for wastewater expansion. You know, a lot of times we don't make good deals in government. This is a good deal for the taxpayers, but also it's meaningful to our students. You know, when I got started on this project, we didn't have a pandemic. We didn't have the worst red tide in recent memory. And it just goes to show that science is omnipresent and is the way out of a lot of these problems that we have. So it's meaningful, it's a good deal for the taxpayers, and it'll beautify the neighborhood. So, you know, you got to fight for what's right.
So, okay, so there's two. You talked about comparing your time in office to what you've done in the Science Center and some of the other projects. What's a third item that, as this election's coming up, you want people to be thinking about, Robert?
Well, you know, I want people to think about the platforms you're seeing from the candidates. Who is saying tangible ideas and tangible plans, and who is kind of just speaking in generalities about, you know, concepts and themes? You know, the best ideas are ones that have, you know, an innovative thought, but also grounded in reality. I think I've brought a lot of innovative thinking to the table. You know, we go to these debates and it's tough, right? Because there's 8 candidates right now, and you can't just give everybody a bunch of time to get into the weeds. And that's why I'm excited to hopefully make it to the next round and be in the top 2 come August 24th. But, you know, a lot of times I feel like even some of the leading candidates, there's a lot left to be desired. You know, I hear things like intentional leadership and we need to be thoughtful in what we do. We do, but what are those thoughts? What are those intentions? And, you know, love them or hate them, I've put the most on the table of anyone. You know, I have a business career that I'm proud of, but when you have a track record, you can always have people scrutinize it. I also have put forward ideas. People love some ideas, people aren't so crazy about other ideas. You know, you, Mayor Baker, have mixed feelings about one of my big plans to move municipal services to Tangerine Plaza. And that's all right, we can talk about it. But the point is, I have plans that I am putting on the table every day. A lot of the other candidates, I haven't heard any real concrete plans other than I'm going to have the community be involved. This is going to be a community effort. We're going to bring everybody together. And we need real thought-provoking ideas. And that's one thing I really think that I bring is I have ideas and I have been pushing the needle my entire time on council. And that's exactly why I'm running for mayor, so that I can take these ideas and leadership to the next level. So I can fight for things like a lakes management department. We're getting one lakes manager right now. I want to have a whole department, especially now with red tide. I want to expand it to our entire environment. I have a plan to have oyster gardens offered at every single waterfront home in our city, just like we offer rain barrels right now to improve our water quality. I have been fighting for public safety with fire stations. I have been fighting for science. I have been fighting for municipal services and economic growth for Midtown. I have been fighting to keep our public marina public despite heavy efforts for privatization. I have been the leader on that. And it's easy for other candidates sometimes when you're just around or you're not taking the hits to say, well, I did that after the smoke is cleared. But I've been the one firing the gun. That's where the smoke's coming from. I've been the one leading.
Robert Blackmon, candidate for mayor, thank you for coming. Good luck on Election Day as you go forward. And I want to thank you all for watching My Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.